Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, a website designer and business coach for entrepreneurs and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want a deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a successful business and stand out in a crowd, you're in the right place. After creating a multiple six-figure-a-year website design business in my 20s, I'm ready to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, branding, website design, mindset, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. All right, guys, let's talk about website strategy, specifically how to communicate on your website exactly why your dream client should work with you over your competitors, like why they should want you specifically. And it's really fun because these 4 ways we're talking through, we basically cover like the majority of the pages on your website through these because there's a lot of one of these might be on 2 or 3 pages, one might be on 1 page primarily. So we're really covering how to make this the overall messaging of your website, like an overall piece of what you're communicating. So this is stuff that you'll also want to communicate, on a discovery call and in emails and other communication with potential clients, but also on your website before you're getting to speak on that one-to-one level with a potential client. So I'm really excited to dive into these. Here we go. 4 ways to communicate why your dream client should work with you all through your website. All right, so these ways are in no particular order, just the order I thought of them in and wanted to share them in. So the first one is communicate that it's easy to work with you. So if by browsing your website, working with you feels really hard, if taking the first step towards working with you feels hard or confusing, this potential client is going to leave and find someone else who will make it easy for them. And I think a pitfall we can fall into with our websites is that sometimes we try to show all the brilliant things we can do. And by doing that, we accidentally communicate that working with us is complicated because what we do for our clients might be really complicated. That's the interesting side of it. What you do might be complicated from your end, but it shouldn't feel complicated from their end. And it also shouldn't feel complicated from the way that you're marketing it. So just because the work you do is complicated, it doesn't mean it should look complicated on the website or feel complicated to a potential client. And we have to remember too, and again, this is another one, a pitfall I think we can fall into. We are so used to whatever it is our industry does that it can feel like just second nature to us. But then to a potential client who doesn't know all the lingo and all the different normal steps to the process, it can feel really overwhelming and confusing. So how do you communicate that's easy to work with you? There's a lot of different ways, but I want to tell you 3 really quick ones. So the first one is actually the design of your website. That's a fast way that is a unconscious way in a sense that you are communicating that's easy to work with you. Because when the design feels overwhelming or it feels confusing to navigate, that reflects poorly on your entire business. And it's a reflection of how it feels to work with you. Whether or not you and the client are making that connection on a conscious level, it still is communicating that. So we want our websites to align in the design and that our service and offerings are like that too. So the design feels aligned to the end result of working with us. So great design, clean, clear, all of that is going to be huge for communicating that's easy. Another way is to say that it's easy. And it sounds funny and simple, but it's so true. So say, it is easy to get started. Here are the first 3 steps. If you've ever read the book, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, I'd highly recommend it. I love that book. I'm literally sitting at my desk right now and I can see it on my bookshelf directly in front of me, but it's a really good one. And he talks about this a lot in the book. And I wish I had looked some of it up to quote him, but this is a big topic of it, is that it has to feel easy to work with you. And if you look at my website, you can get kind of an example of this, but I say it multiple times over when talking about taking that first step towards working with me. I try to communicate that's easy by saying it's easy, but then also by giving like the steps. So for example, for my website templates, on the like individual sales pages for each of the templates, so they all have their own page, but they all have the same copy on it. It says the simple steps to your dream website. Like that's the header. And then under it, there are 3 steps for how to get started. And the steps are easy. They sound easy. And when they're done by the person, they are also actually easy to do. So those are like 2 keys there. Like 3 steps is a great way to do it. If it's less than 3 steps, then say less than 3. Typically, if it's more than 6, that might be too many, but saying it's easy, telling the steps, all of that is going to be a really good, strong way. And then another one, I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. If you're in my Booked Out Designer course, for those students, you guys have definitely heard me talk extensively about this one. But you don't want to tell every possible thing to know about working with you on your website. So on the service page especially is where this really applies. But let there be surprises. Let there be things that the potential client learns through when they actually work with you, or through the discovery call, or in your contract, or during, the like pricing guide you might send after y'all have started working together, or after they've like reached out to you, or after you started working together even. It just doesn't all need to be on the service page. And sometimes we lose the fact that our original goal is to sell the service. And instead, the service page can feel more like a disclaimer about our service instead. So think about that. Does your service page feel like a disclaimer of here's all the stuff you need to know before you consume this thing? Or does it feel like you're literally communicating, here's why it's so great? And this conversation, it might sound like I'm talking about don't make it a super long page. That's actually not what I'm saying. Because I think for sales pages, for example, for especially high-end expensive products, those pages need to be longer because there's more information to share, but it's almost about the way you're sharing it. So is it that you're giving the entire outline of things in your contract on the service page? Or are you talking about here's how this will transform your business. Here's what other people say about it. Here's what's in the package. Here's the price range. How is it that you're talking about it? That's what really matters here. So that's the third way in here. Don't tell every possible thing to know about working with you. So that's my first tip for how to communicate why you over competitors, is just to communicate overarching message in your website, in the design, in the words, all of it is to communicate that it is easy to work with you. Okay, let's talk about the second way. So the second way is to let other people tell potential clients why they should choose you. So let other people do the talking for you. And you might be thinking, well, they're on my website though, Elizabeth, how can other people be the ones talking for me? And I think many of you already know where I'm going with this, but the way to do that is testimonials. And an extension of testimonials would be case studies, which I think of those as basically bigger testimonials that live as entire blog posts, completely exploring a transformation that happened for someone. Another way is going to be portfolio work if you do work that's more visual in nature to some extent, like photographers, designers, that sort of thing. All of that is letting your work and your past clients speak on your behalf, which is absolutely amazing and such a blessing, especially for those of us who maybe don't want to just be constantly raising our hand saying, you need to choose me over this other person, right? This is a way to let the other people do the talking for you. So the cool thing about it is that the proof becomes these other people's experience in words. That becomes the proof of why the potential client who's already drawn to you, they're already on your website, why they should work with you. So my personal favorite way to show testimonials on a website specifically, there's a lot of different tips I'd give even for outside of a website, but on a website is to use pull quotes. So pull quotes, the idea behind it is that it's a sentence or statement pulled from a larger amount of text that this person wrote for you or said to you or whatever as a past client. So I really love pull quotes. And then I also love pull quotes with a sentence under it. So that one statement and then a few sentences like maybe, 2 to 4 sentences that are like more, or even more than that. I guess you could go longer, but more sentences like fully explaining what was said. And the reason for this, for pull quotes, is because when you just put one giant paragraph that's like every single thing that this client said about working with you, and it says a lot of great stuff, but it's really long, people won't want to read it, and they might miss the best parts of it because like the best parts are buried like in the center or at the end of that paragraph. Oftentimes when we ask people just to write like a generalized testimonial, the best parts are like somewhere at the end or at the middle typically. So I personally am all about the pull quotes. Pay attention to yourself next time you're on a website, and you might realize that you too really are more likely to read the pull quote part. So pull off the best part of the testimonial solo, or pull off the best part and then put the longer quote from this person underneath it. And I want to tell you one example that I have on my own website. It would be better if you could see it visually. So maybe I'll put a screenshot to this in the blog post that goes with this episode so you can see what I'm talking about. But I have a testimonial. The pull quote is, I've purchased multiple website templates and this was the best experience overall. So just one sentence. And for me, I'm like, honestly, if that's all someone reads, I'm good with that. Like that's like enough great feedback from this template customer. That's all I need. You know what I'm saying? And so then underneath it, there's a lot more sentences. Probably, I don't know why I said like 2 to 4 earlier. That would be really short. This is probably more like 7. But they say, I'm not even going to read the whole thing. So this is Jessica Breeze who wrote this, but she says the entire template is spot on. Purchasing this template was a complete package with an awesome experience, so much more than just a template code. Elizabeth put her heart into the extension materials and resources, and it makes a huge difference compared to other template purchases I've made. I purchased multiple website templates, and this was the best experience overall. The support and personal contact was a bonus. The extension materials are clearly explained and phenomenal, and the quality of design is stellar. Anyone would benefit from this purchase. So that's the full quote that I put on the website. And as you could tell, that one pull sentence was actually right in the middle, basically, middle towards the end of what I just read. So I know it's different hearing it on a podcast, but if you were to see this visually, you might actually not read that whole long paragraph that you were just forced to listen to me read on the podcast, but you would definitely end up skimming that pull quote because it's just so easy to consume. So use testimonials, use them all over your website. Again, this is one where I'm saying like we're basically covering the whole website in these 4 ways, but like testimonials can go literally anywhere you want them to go, like literally anywhere. I've done websites before where I put them on like every page. And I've done some where, maybe the contact page, like you don't really need testimonials there, but maybe you want to put one there. You could literally put them anywhere you want. So use testimonials and always cite the person who said it. Don't ever do testimonials without a name attached to it. And I like to be consistent page to page. So there's a lot of different methods you can do. Like you can do the first name, last initial. You can do the full name. You can do just their business name and their full name, their name and state. Like sometimes that applies depending on what kind of business you have. But what I'll do is like consistency page to page. So if on one page I'm doing their first name and initial of their last name, then they should all be that way. And then if like another part I'm doing just the full name and like say their type of business, like that's another way. But you just want to be consistent overall. And I want to go ahead and share too another type of testimonial that I'm really obsessed with. You've probably seen this on plenty of websites, plenty of sales pages as you're like just exploring the internet. But I really love are like the straight up screenshots from your inbox, from your Instagram DMs, your Facebook groups. Interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed, so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravy.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravy.com/CHM. Now back to the episode. All of those kind of screenshots, where it's like someone literally just sent this to you and we're seeing it in like the kind of boring like Facebook group font, or like the boring email font, but it feels so real and authentic because it's literally a screenshot. Ideally, if no one doctored it and edited it or something, like it's just a real, like this is literally what the person said. And so I really love those. And if you are someone who's like saves those when you do get those kinds of testimonials, like first of all, definitely be saving them, but like that's a great, easy thing to just add to your website. So if you use Showit, all you need to do is like take all the screenshots, upload them as images into your Showit media library, and then whatever page you want to put them on, add like a new blank canvas, and then, upload some images, add them all in as images, and then just arrange them as needed on desktop and mobile. Like it's super simple, and it doesn't necessarily like look super pretty, to be honest. Like there's ways you can lay those out better and worse. But like if people actually are reading and exploring it, it's going to feel super, super powerful because again, the authenticity of it just being like a straight up screenshot. So I'm a huge fan of that. And if you want more on testimonials, go back to episode 19 of this podcast, which feels like forever ago now. But episode 19, I believe 20 and 22 as well, like a few in a row, are all about testimonials, like literally how to get great testimonials, how to showcase them on your website well, how to edit them in a way that is like authentic to you and to what the person said, all that kind of stuff. So that's number 2, though. Let other people tell the potential clients why they should choose you. So the why you for working with this dream client can literally be a like why you, as in you as an individual, not even as a business, who you are, that they relate to you and find a connection with you and therefore want you to be the person that they hire for this like trustworthy type of work that they need in their life or their business. So I love a good about page. About pages have always been like probably one of my favorite pages to design on a website and also to like read when I am browsing websites. But I love to share, like when I think about designing them and what I do in my templates as well, having a spot to share your story of like starting your business or how you came into this kind of work. And again, in a way that's like easy to actually read, not confusing or challenging. Sharing your business accomplishments, like accolades and stuff, which we're actually going to get to in another one here in a minute. Sharing about like your family and personal life and your interests outside of work, all of that kind of stuff. And a cool thing that's important to note here, you're not in an ideal world sharing all that information in a paragraph form that's just like paragraph. Like here's a paragraph of my favorite things. Here's a paragraph about my business story. That's not the way to do it. But instead, you want to be small sections that show off each thing, that tell each thing, each piece of information in a way that's really easy to consume. So for example, instead of a paragraph about your favorite things where it's like, my favorite food is dark chocolate, my Enneagram type is a 6. Instead, you wanted to say, like a way that's easy to consume. So like favorite things, it could be icons and images with short descriptions and laid out in a cool way that someone can like literally skim it. It's just much easier for consumption. So use your about page and think about it through the lens of how can I tell my potential client, my ideal client, about me in a way that will make me desirable to work with and in a way that they'll be able to like relate and connect with me. So as an example, though, thinking about like the desirable to work with part, this is something I always think it goes without saying, but at the same time, I actually don't think it goes without saying. But your about page should still be very professional. So like not the like negative aspects of what it's like to work with you or the negative things. Like, so just to give it an example, this is not true of me, but let's say I am someone who does my best work from midnight to 2 a.m. in front of the TV on the floor with a bowl of ice cream. Like, let's say that's like my preferred working method. And if that were true to you, you don't want to share that on the about page. Like, that's not the like setup and lens we want your ideal clients to see through. And maybe it is, but I'm going to say in most cases, that's like not it. So just remember, this is still like a business about page. So you want to make it professional and fun, but also a way to be personality packed, show off your personality, and develop that know, like, and trust factor with this person that you really want to work with. So that's number 3, all about the about page, to show clients why you and to show your personality. And I just to say as well, I did just talk about the about page there, but that can come through in other areas as well, like on your sales page, on your service page, on your home page. Those are all spots where you might have a little blurb about you specifically, where you can tie some of that stuff in as well. Okay, so the last one is to show your expertise all over your website. And this last one is huge. I actually almost broke it up into 2 points because there's really a lot that can be said about this, and it really applies to the majority of your website. So you may not feel like an expert. Okay. Like you might be thinking like, show your expertise, Elizabeth. I don't have any expertise, but I promise you that you know more about your skill, like whatever it is you're offering, than your ideal client does, which is why they need to hire you for help. That's why they're on your website, considering your services, reading your about page, all that stuff. So by doing a good job of showing people that you're an expert at your craft, you can stand out above and beyond competition that like just is assuming like the ideal client knows this because like that's what you do for a living, right? So how do you show your expertise? There are so many ways, and I want to share a few of them that I just like came to mind as I was thinking through this. But again, this is not like extensive. So one way to show expertise is with the logo bars. That's what they're most commonly called, but you'll see these on tons of websites. I do them in my templates and on my own website as well. But it's like showing either the clients you've worked with or spots you've been featured, a combination of both, certifications. Like you can use it for a lot of different things. When I was primarily doing one-to-one work as a designer, my version of a logo bar was logos for some clients that were notable that I had done their branding or their website or both. Now it's like podcasts and things of that nature that I've been on. So again, you could use it however you want, and it can kind of look the same. You would just clarify like it's featured on or clients I've worked with or whatever it is. So that can be like on your homepage, your about page. It can go a lot of different places. Another one is sharing about awards you've won or certifications you have. So the certification aspect is really important when you're doing something that requires certification. So to all of my coaches listening, that's going to be a big one for you to share, like what is the certifications that you are working with on your website. And again, that can happen on multiple pages. Awards you've won and other honors you've had is another great one as well. The biggest one in my mind is blogging and content creation. So giving the potential client wins on your website before they ever reach out to you. So again, y'all have not talked in a lot of this. Like we're assuming that the two of you have not connected yet. So how can you give them wins? Blogging is a great way to do that. And like you might be thinking, but I want to do a podcast. I want to do YouTube. My thing is Instagram Lives or Facebook Lives or Clubhouse or whatever it is. You can still blog that content as well. And in this particular instance, like first of all, blogging has so many purposes. Like I'm all about blogging in addition to these other things. Like every single podcast episode you hear on this podcast is also on my blog as a blog post. That does reference that you can listen to it, but it also is a standalone piece of content that you could just read as a blog. So the purpose of blogging though is that it lives on your website and it's a quick quicker way for someone to get to know you and your content if they came to your website first. So like if someone were to discover this podcast through browsing Spotify or browsing Apple Podcasts, then they might never click over to my website, or it might be a really long time before they get there. But let's say someone found out about me from Instagram or Google and comes over to my website, then they might click to the blog and want to look at stuff there before they're ever going to go over to Apple Podcasts and subscribe. So like if the blog is like, the last thing I wrote in 2017 before I started podcasting, that's not a great look. So you want the content on the podcast, the content on YouTube, whatever, to also be going on your website. I mean, there's so many benefits. Another huge one is SEO. Like you can't get the same SEO juice from just publishing it on YouTube or Spotify or whatever as you would also get if you're putting it on your website as well. So anyway, blogging though, blogging's huge. And that's a great way to show your expertise. So creating content that's going to give your potential clients wins before they even reach out to work with you on the area that you are providing a service or product for. And this other way, it really ties into blogging because in a sense, it's an extension of it, but having freebies and downloads on your website. So again, that's why I say it's like it relates to blogging. You could literally make a freebie for something that like was going to be a blog post, but having a place for someone to opt in, give you their email address in order to get, an audio training, a PDF guide, whatever it is that is going to, again, show them why you. And I love to make sure that's like a huge part of my templates is like, I'll put it typically in the footer of the site. So it's like on multiple pages where you can just go right there, opt in at any point that the potential client wants to make that connection with you. And I also like to include some landing pages. That's what I call them inside of like the account, like inside of your template, inside of Show It. But basically it's like a page where it'll have the information for you to have like an image about the offer and then the title, a little description, and then a place for you to collect the email in order for them to get it. So those are just a few of the many ways that you can show expertise. And again, those can happen on just about every page of your website. Like the expertise stuff, like it can be all over the place. So that's it though, you guys. This is a shorter episode. I love it when I can actually do an episode that is about as long as I think it's going to be. But that's it. So let's recap. Recapping the ways to communicate to your dream clients that they should work with you. And as I do this recap, I want you to think, like, let's take some action with this podcast episode. I want you to think about how you can implement some of these or all of these onto your website soon, like maybe even today. Like if you're going to be able to like be working on your website today, think about which ones you can implement or which ones you want to make a goal to like get a website set up where you can easily implement this. I am coming out with new templates soon, a little spoiler there. So stay tuned for that. I'm very, very excited about that upcoming launch. But okay, let me read through these again. So the first one, communicate that it's easy to work with you. The second one, let other people tell new potential clients why they should choose you to work with. And remember, that was testimonials, portfolio, case study, all of that. Number 3, build a personal connection with your dream clients with a personality-packed about page. And also just talking about yourself in a way that's connection driven, even outside the about page. And the last one, show your expertise all over your website. And remember, we said logo bars. Statistics is another one, like how many clients you've worked with and stuff. I just thought of that one. And then blogging, all of that good stuff. So that is it, you guys. The 4 ways to communicate why your dream client should work with you. And I hope this helps. I hope you'll take action on these. And again, add them to your website. Give yourself like a website check and say, am I doing these things? And stay tuned for new M-Shop templates launching very, very soon. Again, so stoked about that. And I'm laughing right now as I'm recording because I just recorded this one like straight up without like any breaks or anything. And I don't have any lights on in my office because when I started this, it was actually kind of bright outside because I have a giant window in my office. And now it's pitch black in my office because it's about to storm really bad here, even though it's like 10 a.m. So that feels really funny. Just had to share. I need to go turn on a light now as I stop this. Okay. Hope this was helpful. If this was helpful to you, I'd love for you to share on social media, leave a review for the podcast, tell a friend who you think could use the website tips. And I'll be back next week with another episode. Bye, you guys. Thank you for listening to the podcast this week, friend. I appreciate you being here. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, I want to tell you about something. I would encourage you to check out my website template shop. Over on ElizabethMcCravey.com, you'll find Show It website templates, and they are easy to use, strategically designed, and created to help you book more clients and customers. Maybe your current website is really boring. I don't know, maybe it is, and maybe you don't want to hurt its feelings, but you know it's true. And your website needs to be strategically and intentionally designed in order for it to convert your viewers into raving customers. And that's what these website templates do on MShop. These are pre-made website templates built for the Show It platform where you can plug and play your content into the template with ease and then get started with a website that is made to actually make you money. Isn't that what we all want, right? So go shop the templates at ElizabethMcCravey.com/shop. That link is also in the show notes. And don't forget that you can actually subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening so that you never miss an episode. And I would so appreciate it if you left a rating and review for the show on Apple Podcasts, or even just share it with a friend. It's a great way to support the show and then give us your feedback. So thanks so much for listening.